We all set?
The more and more I think about when I'm, do my little thing.
I do it on the project.
Exactly.
I don't hear this week. I don't know. Are we ready? I call to order the August Planning Commission meeting. Tonight we have a slightly different format. For the in the month of June, our former commissioner Larry Storr stepped off. Well, his last month was June, and we didn't have a meeting, and we did not have an opportunity to thank him for all his years of service. And so I would like to, at this point, introduce our mayor, Jim Lynch.
Thank you, Chair Carapiet. Is this thing on? It is with great pleasure on behalf of the City Council and all of the citizens of Belvedere to present this proclamation to Larry Storr for his outstanding service to the Belvedere community. And this proclamation runs through Larry's history here, Del Mar School, Wood High, of mineral mining engineering degree from Arizona, an MBA from Wharton. He and Kathy live in a house that they've owned for 24 years now. They have 2 kids and 4 grandkids. Larry presided over at least 75 planning commission meetings, and including his efforts on a number of critical subcommittees that advanced and added precision to the work that the Planning Commission does. And so it is with great pleasure that I'm able to present this to Larry. So Larry. And before I let you go, I just want to add a couple personal, which is I had the great pleasure of working alongside Larry on the Planning Commission for a number of years. Get how many? And then in the last couple of years when I was on council and he was on planning. And I want to commend and recognize Larry for doing what I think is the hardest work, which is asking the questions that nobody else asked. And when the answer came back, that's the way it's been done. He said, well, why? And sometimes why? Because that's contrary to what's written down. And it takes an incredible amount of attention to detail, an engineer's mind, a commitment to craft of doing the right thing. And it also takes courage to ask the questions that everybody else says, why asking that question? And I think that is one of the great attributes you have and benefits that you've conferred on the city in your service on the Planning Commission. Thank you. Thank you, Larry.
I enjoyed working with you on the Planning Commission. Yeah, sure. Appreciate all your support and it was a great time. And to Peter Mark also, I enjoyed you guys putting up with my questions.
You don't have to say nice things about us, Larry. This is about you, but I know that Peter Mark wants to say something, so let me bring him up. Congratulations again, and thank you for your service.
Yeah, thank you, Marilyn. Larry, I just wanted to also, second exactly what Jim said, that it was an honor and a pleasure to work with you, and congratulations, and thank you for your years of service. And I'll say exactly what Jim said, is that you asked the hard question, you dug in deep, you focused on the details, which kept everyone on their toes, and it was a benefit to the community as well as to the applicants themselves. So I did want to say thank you. And absolutely, we're gonna miss you.
I'm gonna miss you.
Thank you.
Okay, and I'd also like to thank Larry for his service with this commission, and he's always handled everything with great courage and was always had a smile on his face, which was always nice. And I'd like to open it up to any other commissioner that would like to make a statement to Larry.
I would like to say something. It kind of, it's a total repeat. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But I sat next to Larry, and I could sometimes look over and see the questions, and he underlines, and as everybody says, he really asked the good questions. So thank you for that. And thank you for letting us get to know you. You are a really wonderful man. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you, Larry. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Mayor Lynch, Member Mark. And so now we will go on with our agenda. The next section, B, is our open forum where anyone can come to the podium and speak on any item that's not on our agenda. Is there members of the commission that have anything they want to add? Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on anything that's on the agenda? Seeing no one. Nancy, is there anyone on Zoom? Thank you. We move on to the reports. The report agenda items consist of any oral reports from standing planning commission committees, if any, and any individual member of the planning commission and staff. Does the commission have any, commissioner have any reports? Does staff have any reports?
No reports, thank you.
Do we need to do a roll call?
We were just discussing that. Yes, we can do, we can do roll call, yeah.
Perfect timing.
I don't think we need to do roll call votes though, any further. Okay.
Right. Roll
Uh,
call, please.
Commissioner Lasky,
Here.
Commissioner Slaymaker,
Here.
Commissioner. Chair Carapiet,
Here.
Vice Chair Johnson.
Here.
Commissioner Hart.
Here.
Thank you.
Moving on to item D, consent calendar. The consent calendar consists of items that the planning commission considers to be non-controversial. Unless any item is specifically removed by any member of the planning commission staff or ordinance or audience, the consent calendar will be adopted in one motion. Items removed will be considered in the sequence as they appear. If any member of the audience wishes to have an item removed, please raise your hand on the bottom of your platform. And if you're in the audience, just, raise your hand and come to the podium. Do any commissioners want to move anything from the consent calendar? I would just like to remove item number 2, just for brief clarification on one chart.
Sure. So one of the attachments in that staff report has a chart. It states that there are 9 B35 applications, and that is a typo. We do not have any SB applications.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to remove an item from the consent calendar? Seeing none. Nancy, anyone on Zoom? Okay, may I have a motion to adopt the consent calendar, items 1 and 2?
I then move to adopt the consent calendar with the corrections presented.
All in favor? Aye. Aye. Any nays? Motion unanimously approved. Moving on to public hearings, item number 3, 105 Golden Gate. May we have a staff
Thank you, Chair Carapiet and members of Planning Commission. For your consideration this evening is an application for design review, exception to total floor area, and revocable license for a residential addition and associated improvements at 105 Golden Gate Avenue. The project site is in a 14,800 square foot lot in the R15 zoning district. The site is adjacent to single-family homes in all directions and slopes down to the west, an average of 57% slope. The residence is developed with a single-family home and attached garage, accessible via Golden Gate Avenue. The project proposes a residential addition and yard renovations. These 1,177 square feet to the existing residence, extending the upper level deck 3 feet and 6 inches, and rebuilding the existing lower level deck. Constructing a new rear yard patio, infinity pool, and artificial lawn. Installing wood fencing at the south and western sides of the rear yard. New steps and railings at the southern side of the yard. And replacing a wood retaining wall with a concrete retaining wall at the rear of the yard. The additional floor area would be created at 3 levels of the residence. At the upper level, the project would add 152 square feet under an existing overhang and 225 square feet at the garage, expanding the garage 10 feet and 10 inches to the north. At the lower level, the project would create 290 square feet for a hallway and bedroom by connecting crawl space. At the lawn level, the project would add 500 feet for an office and sauna by enclosing the area beneath the existing rear deck. The project would replace the rear lawn and continue stone patio with outdoor kitchen, dining area, and infinity pool. To the south, an artificial lawn would be placed. Slopes from north to south, and the grade on the northern portion would be dropped approximately 4 feet. On the left side, the lawn elevation would be lowered approximately 6 inches on this side. Looking at the rear of the home from Belvedere Avenue, project would install 3 clear story windows and 1 12-foot by 5-inch by 13 feet by 6-inch fixed window at the lawn level. Stone steps with the 42-inch glass guardrail would also lead down to the stone patio and infinity pool. From the south elevation, the project shows the new 510 square foot office space at the lawn. Not detailed on this elevation would be a new 16 foot long, 6 foot tall fence. No windows or doors are proposed at this elevation. Okay. Looking from the north elevation, the plans show the new garage height and the garage expansion. The garage roof will be raised 2 feet 9 inches. No window doors are proposed from this elevation. Colors and materials would include tongue and groove horizontal siding in dark gray at the garage upper and lower levels of the house. Plaster siding in light gray at the lower level. Porcelain tile cladding in medium gray at the new office and sauna. and aluminum windows and doors in a dark gray color. The new concrete retaining walls would have a board and finish, and the 6-foot fence would be redwood, and the project would also install 42-inch tall glass railing at the lower. Exterior lighting of 8 rail-mounted lights around the artificial lawn, and 24 in-wall step lights at the front patio, side yard, and rear. 4 pool lights are also proposed, but it's unclear from the plans the style of this lighting. The project proposes 1 apple tree in a gallon pot, 1 pear tree, 2 kangaroo paw trees in 36-inch boxes, and 3 lime, lemon, and orange trees. Saratoga laurel in 24-inch boxes will be placed as well. There will also be an assortment of shrubs, including coffee berry, little ollies, camellia, and creeping fig. The project requests an exception of total floor area to allow 5,500 square feet, where 4,850 permitted. And the project requests a revocable license, a stormwater dissipator on public land adjacent to Belvedere Avenue. The previous owner of 105 Golden Gate made improvements to the site without planning approval. These included retaining walls on the west and southern sides of the property, a new flat area, construction of an exterior staircase, enclosing of the lower portion of the west and 2nd-story deck, and removal of 4 trees. The applicant is proposing to remove or rebuild this unpermitted work to be compliant with current building and planning regulations. Staff has received letters objecting to the project from Roy and Kathleen at 15 Belvedere Avenue, as well as Deborah and John Wilton at 2 Eucalyptus Road. Some of the issues raised were that the project measures elevations from existing grade, which was raised illegally and is being used as a starting point. Inconsistencies in the drawings regarding the fences, retaining walls, and landscaping. The height of the screening fence adjacent to Belvedere Avenue will be lower than the pool and patio and not provide privacy for the downhill neighbors. The infinity pool will cause noise and a visual distraction. The hillside would benefit from a lower retaining wall along Belvedere Avenue, stabilize the slope, and a recommendation was made to have additional fast growing that would screen the wood fence and structures. Additional considerations, the project proposes 600 cubic yards of cut at the office and pool areas that would be redistributed to the patio and driveway. Because the lawn was constructed illegally, materials used to build it are unclear but assumed to be gravel. Staff recommend that the architect provide additional information about the grading plan, in particular the possibility that the excavated soil could not be redistributed on site, leading to additional off-haul and truck trips. As well as noted in the previous staff reports and by commissioners and residents, the proposed improvements are being measured at the modified grade, which is taller than the original. Measuring from the original grade is necessary to calculate lot coverage and building heights. The applicant has obtained an old way provided to the prior to the illegal work being constructed, and provide an explanation or exhibits detailing the proposed improvements to the original grade. The project, if approved, would be is categorical from CEQA. And as outlined in the staff report, the facts support the required findings and recommends the Planning Commission adopt the resolutions for 105 Golden Gate and recommend City Council approval of a river license. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Sammy. Very nice report. Do any of the commissioners have questions for staff at this time? Kevin?
Sure. Thanks, Sammy, for a good report. A couple of questions. One, just because we were on it, the lot coverage that's in the staff report, would that change based on looking at the original grade versus the existing grade?
Well, It's possible because we measure anything of existing grade is counted towards lot coverage. So we would have to see what the elevation would be.
So it could be very different or moderately different than what's in the plan, in the staff report?
I don't want to make an assumption. Wait to see what the architect provides for us, and then we could analyze it.
That's fair. And then 3, I think you already addressed this in your report. Thanks for that. But I just want to confirm that all of the pre-existing modification or the modifications that were made without proper approvals and building permits will be addressed in the current plan.
That's correct.
On page 4, the planning commission meeting on May 17th, 2022.
I'm sorry to interrupt,
Yeah.
Commissioner Burke. Is your mic on?
Yeah.
Will you get a little closer? Yeah, I just want to make sure.
You can't hear back there?
Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, because of the fan. I can't fix the fan. I can come closer to the mic.
That's better. That's better.
Better? All right. On page 4, the meeting, May 17th is the section. Neighbor concerns were entered into the public record. The record included concerns around stabilizing the hillside above Belvedere Avenue and safety issues related to construction on the hillside. At the same mission suggested that the applicant change the plans to limit the excavation under the home and address the concerns. I mean, as you just shared with us, neighbors have raised that same issue again. My question to staff is what, based on the plan submitted, has specifically changed in the plans that would limit excavation under the home and address its stability issues?
That would be a great question to the applicant.
But based on your review of the plans, you are not aware of anything specifically?
I'm not.
Okay. On page 5, landscaping and lighting, has the applicant submitted documentation on the location of existing trees, specifically those trees to remain versus the 7 that were removed? So the trees along Belvedere Avenue, for instance, I know there's a discussion in the neighborhood around the trees. Do we have a plan that specifically identifies what trees exist?
We have this survey on page 3 of the plans. That's to my knowledge what we have about the existing trees.
And we believe that to be accurate?
Yes.
Concern around this is that in the same issue that was raised in May of 17, the commission had suggested that the applicant change the plans to preserve trees. And I'm just wondering whether or not we feel, or the staff feels, that in fact was addressed or reflected in the plans.
Yeah, sure. I can answer that one.
Sure.
I was not here on May 17th, but I do know that the survey shows the existing acacia trees at lower portion of the property, which I believe there's been some neighbor concerns about, what is happening there. I think it's certainly in the commission's purview to, at the time of discussion, discuss perhaps a more robust landscape plan, sort of more hill stabilization, to that road, given some of the concerns with the tree removal.
I mean, I'm just trying to understand from where we were to where we are today, so we make sure we have a good. The other thing regarding the trees, they were severely trimmed most recently. Was that done with permit?
The ones along Belvedere Avenue? No.
Okay.
I'll just add that a permit's not required to trim trees.
Is it on property?
Good point. Yes,
Then it needs.
some of them are, yes.
Some of them
yes,
are, yeah.
Yes.
Or at least that, I mean, it looks as if on the survey they may be. And then I think my last question was, you mentioned that a condition from the staff was about, you would like to see the garage roof lowered to preserve views from Golden Gate Ave. And I was wondering you wanted it lowered by how much?
It had to do with our one of our findings and just preservations from the street.
Yeah.
When I visited the site, to me personally, I looked at and it looked like the views would be changed a bit. So that's my.
So it's a general condition. It's not specific at this point in terms of
it's not, no.
a dimension. Oh, great. Thank you.
May I just to Rebecca, I think we were talking about the trees down on Belvedere Avenue. I think the only ones that are pointed out here are the oaks, not the acacias. The acacias are just little rings. And then I thought of bringing up, but I think that Kevin already did, but I mistakenly thought that our Belvedere Housing and General Plan was not a consent item. So I went through it, all this teeny text, line by line. And in it, I found, which I thought was very interesting, and I thought I'd ask city about it. And it was that in this Belvedere Housing Element annual report, under program 2.3, it says that the city should conduct home sale inspections. And in the implementation, it says that continues to inspect residences at time of sale and to identify hazards and repair their correction. And I thought this, because of this item for us, it's very relevant. I was just wondering, and I think Kevin already asked that, what is being done with all the illegal manufactured or built structures?
Sorry to interrupt, just to clarify for my benefit, did you want to reopen the discussion about the annual report?
No.
No, you
I
don't.
just
Okay.
brought
Thank you.
what I read there as a thing to segue into what are we doing with all these? What is the city? What can the city enforce? As it says in the housing plan here that it's forced. Why hasn't it been done? Why are we sitting for the second time looking at something that is just lawn areas and stuff that shouldn't be there?
Yes, so I'll answer it specific to this site, right, to 227, I'm sorry, to 105. I think this is the process, right? They bought the house, they made an application for design review due to circumstances. And the project, it's been sort of a longer process than maybe most quote unquote projects here in Belvedere. But they are following protocol for remedying the illegal improvements at 105 Golden Gate, which we would do for any item that was identified in a resale report.
Could I ask a question? On this topic. What if they were not coming before us with a remodel though? What if they had just bought the home and then what? Then what is the process for correcting these issues?
Then we would follow up them sort of independently with a letter and, communicate with them and have them meet the illegal improvements.
Okay.
Isn't it part of the building department that they would follow up with the applicant if they didn't come to the city to talk to the building department what about needed to do to remedy their either unpermitted or unsafe
Yes.
conditions?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think part of the issue here is that we're calling it a retro design review, but it's really two separate things. So it's addressing all of the unpermitted work, getting it back to original condition. And then separately, I understand it's holistic. We have to kind of look at these things in terms of the bigger picture, but then separately, they want to remodel and here's the remodel plan. So we have to kind of, I think, decouple those things for clarity's sake.
Correct. I would agree that there's those bullet points of unpermitted ELIT work that was done under a different owner. They're hoping to remedy that in combination with a new project.
Any other questions? I just had, most of my questions were asked. The one question I have is in the report, it says that, and I'm not as good as Kevin, I don't have the page, but it says the slope is 57%. Is that 50%, 7% slope? Is that from the modified grade or the original grade?
That is from our ArcGIS system, and it's the average of the entire lot,
Okay, so it's a separate.
separate.
Okay, great, thank you. And the other question I had, and I just wanted to confirm it, because when I was on site, the architect mentioned that the garage height is measured from Golden Gate Avenue and is not from the top of the garage down to the grade, like right, like a plumb down. So it is measured from the
Plumb line,
plumb with the
yes,
existing original grade, whatever we're referring to.
correct, yes. It would be,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, okay, Kevin, okay.
One more. There's also, you said that there was a 600 cubic yards of cut, but in the plans, it says 900. So there's a discrepancy of 300. Do we know what that discrepancy is?
Exactly.
It's the ADU, okay, which is not part of this. Yeah, okay.
Contractor, but actually, I think Samuel asked you, in the 2020 report on retroactive work, one of the, there's installation of a rainwater site drainage known locations. Do we know about that? I mean, that could east the hill if there's rainwater and water being draining somewhere. Did we ever that up, or?
That's a great question. I don't have the answer. We can ask the
I think that would also get taken care of during building permit process.
Okay.
And then I had a question. So if we do some tree protection around existing trees, in our tree protection ordinance, is it an ordinance or is it not really? So how do we get it that, we say protect a tree and we continually get projects where sometimes they're really good about protecting their trees and then other times they cut it in half or they practically kill and the tree's not protected at all. So is there any kind of consequences that can be added to a tree protection?
We could have, I've seen a condition of approval where, if there's not a tree plan included in this project done by a certified arborist, I don't think there is, but we could condition it that there needs to be one. Additionally, we've had our building inspector go out and make sure that these specific trees the protection is up, maybe prior to issuance of building permit, or, there's creative, we can word a condition of approval to verify. The one project that comes to my mind is 270 Beach, where there was a few trees that were really important to the adjacent neighbors, and the city worked on making sure those were protected. Also condition it with a consequence should a tree comes out. A new one size needs to be planted.
Okay, great, perfect. Those were my questions. One last questions to staff. Okay, can we please hear from the applicant? You have 10 minutes.
Sounds-
Testing. You're up there, up there. Gotcha. Beginning. I think that's just, they don't see that.
All right, I'm the project architect, Sean Bailey. Tonight we have contractor Mark Swanson from Jama Construction, and then Tim and Laura, the Costas and their family. Thanks to Sammy and Rebecca for all their get us to this point, and thanks to the commission to hear our project tonight. Let's see. Shoot, on the next slide. What's going on this screen, but not the. Apologies. I'm changing it here and it's moving, but it's not there. Yeah, can we stop the clock?
Maybe just do it this way. There
Okay,
you go,
okay,
yeah,
cool,
yeah.
thank you.
And then there's something weird with the camera. I don't know if it's like on your neck. only. A little better.
All right, sorry about that. So I think the first big clarification that's been brought up is the unpermitted work. I know we understand why all the neighbors and people in the community were upset by the unpermitted work, but I think it bears mention that it was not done by Tim and Laura. Have a genuine interest to try to remedy everything. So this list goes bullet point by bullet point, and the current project intends to remedy and bring every single item up to code, and that's included in this proposal. That's always been their intention. They're hoping to make a usable backyard for their family as part of it. And we have been working really hard on this. It's been a tough neighbor engagement. So there has been genuine effort put forth to try to remedy this. So I just wanted to mention that to start. Sammy covered the project scope pretty well, but I think the bullet points are the new pool and lawn area in the rear yard, new office and bath at the lawn level, and then the small addition of the garage to allow for a proper two-car garage. And then the future ADU, as discussed, is not part of tonight's discussion, but we're transparent that is a hope for a future phase. So Commissioner Kevin had brought this up, trying to understand what's changed from the May hearing last year to now. It was pretty clear at that hearing that it was backwards and a lot needed to be changed based on feedback from the commissioners as well as neighbors, and I believe we've done that. The previous version, we were in the rear yard back with some retaining walls, trying to grab a little bit more lawn area. And we everything back towards the house, so we're no longer asking for that variance. The pool height was a big topic of discussion, and it was dropped 11 feet in height and elevation. So it's an in-ground pool now. And that was something that there were views lost on that, but it was a big concession that the owners tried to make to work more with the commission's wishes. The previous garage design in the side yard setback, we pulled that back, so we're no longer asking for that. And then proposed floor area and lot coverage have been significantly reduced. So this has changed and been reduced quite a bit. I think Sammy did a good job of covering. I'm gonna spend too much time here, but just a quick floor plan on here, and then you step up 4 feet to the pool area. And that kind of lower level program. Apology. The next level up, the lower level, we are trying to reclaim a little bit of crawl space area, but it's significantly less than it was previous version. And then the ADU is shown here on the right side, which is in the garage space. And then the upper level, a small addition for the garage. I'm going to talk about the garage in a second here, but the program was reduced quite a bit on this level, so it's not as much proposed work on this level. Quickly, I wanted to show this slide. So the current lawn is 22,330 square feet. When we were here, we had something that was 1,460 square feet, and tonight we're presenting something 180 square feet. So I think that shows that the lawn has been reduced in order to try to mitigate some of the concerns we've heard, and so it's been almost cut. The garage, this sketch shows what's shown in red was what was presented in May last year, edge of the roof, and the neighbor at 101 Golden Gate had voiced some opposition about the mass of that, so we significantly pushed it back. It's back 9 foot 3, and then it came back from the side yard setback as well. And I don't believe we'll hear from her. She sent an email we forwarded that she had approved of the changes we made, no longer had concerns. And I'll note that we had not heard anything from any neighbors about the garage in the current proposal in this process. So there hasn't been any neighbor opposition on the garage. For 2 Eucalyptus, we've had a lot of discussion with them. I know you're going to. Privacy was a big concern from them. We understood that. We are currently proposed 6-foot high solid privacy fence that's 16 feet long that would cut out the views into their pool area, as well as 9 screening trees, and 3 of which would be 48-inch box. So we believe the privacy concerns would be completely mitigated. This is a photo of the ribbon put up that represents the 6-foot and the location of the fence, which takes out the view of the pool entirely, and then there would be screening trees on that. The downhill neighbors, 15 and 19 Belvedere Avenue, and I guess also the general public that uses that as a walking, and it's a big street that the community uses. So that's been a neighbor issue we've been trying to sort through. What we've proposed is it was a 6-foot high solid screening wall that we agreed to go up to 8 feet to help mitigate privacy for both visual and acoustics. Then some discussion of the infinity edge pool. This photo is to show what we're not going to do. I think people have this misconception that it's going to be this 12-foot high kind of Beverly Hills waterfall, and it's just really not the intention at all. This image is more into what we were hoping to do, which is a 16-inch drop that's concealed behind a planter, so you really would never see it. It's not loud or anything like that. Excuse me. And I would also add, I think Laura and Tim may be open to deleting that if it becomes a point of contention or gets us closer to an approval. But I just want to make sure we're all understanding what's being proposed. So these sections are showing the 8-foot high privacy wall. So this is at the pool area here. The proposed planter in front of that, as well as the existing acacia trees. And then, we believe that when you're on Belvedere Avenue looking up between the combination of these things, you won't see this edge, and it will be very screened. And just to clarify, the previous version, some of the acacia trees would have to have come out because the retaining walls were closer, and we have changed. We would like to keep all those trees, the oaks in there and the acacias. So that intention. This is a section cut through the lawn area, which again you can see 8-foot fence, which we believe significantly screens. The last thing I want to clarify, the acacias, I'm going to go down to the survey here. They are almost entirely on the Costas property. If you guys want to look at this, can't quite zoom in, but and you can look at the survey. None of them were in the public right of way, so they were within their right to trim them. So I just want to make sure that's understood. I'm gonna talk for a second here about some of the constructability stuff. And yeah, thank you for your time. Didn't leave you much time.
Am I able to talk, well, Mark Swanson for the Costas, is it possible to talk as a member of the public to get more time? Or do I just have to talk really?
No, go ahead. I'll give you more time.
Thank you very much.
I'll give you more time to talk.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, all commissioners, the Costa family, Sean, and the neighbors and public. Mark Swanson, contractor working with the Costas on the project. I was brought in about 4 or 5 months ago to just sort of work through a lot of the construction elements and also work with industry. I've been a contractor in Belvedere for over 22 years, and I know how important it is to involve a lot of people in the process. I know also that it's always possible to make everybody happy, and sometimes you develop relationships, but they're based upon compromise. And I want to speak to the construction of the project, and then I also wanted to speak to a little bit of process and my thoughts. So as Sean pointed out, really one of the big elements of this is taking care of all the constructed items. And part of it, I know it's sort of two separate things, but the original constructed items, I don't think we'd actually want to go back to them because I see all the relics and old things that before. And so it's kind of in a way we're making, if we were just required to put it back, I think we'd be remiss. I think the work that is proposed is exponentially more robust. It's going to do more to stabilize the hillside. Commissioner Burke, you had asked about sort of what's being done to add site stability. And I think this downhill wall with piers will not only stabilize the portion of the property, but it takes loads off the downhill portion of the property. Some neighbors are asking for a retaining wall along Belvedere Avenue. I think that's not a good idea, given that it would be on public right of way, but it's also a very narrow portion right there, and it would pinch cars off, and it would create other situations that are just complex and in a bit of danger with people walking through there. So what I propose is, and we do this often, is some erosion brick that's biodegradable that we plant, a jute netting or something like that, and you can plant these beautiful, whatever type of crawling or growing plants that you would like. If you drive down Belvedere Avenue, I think you'll see that this is no different than most of the hillside, a few neighbors that have built elements down right along the road. So I think we can easily address the erosion control issues. And during the course of construction, we have an erosion control plan by the civil engineer that's put in place to preserve all the elements. Regarding tree protection, you go by some of our projects, a lot of times tree protection is putting some orange plastic fence around the tree. Well, we don't do that. We put chain link fencing, and we make sure we're out of the drip line, and we have an arborist monitor our work. I like trees. I want them to live and survive. As a contractor, I don't take any pleasure in the building department or the planning department coming out and being upset about damaging trees and other vegetation that sets remain. Regarding the pool, I've built pools on much steeper lots, suspended in the air, both in Tiburon and Belvedere. I'm not going to say this is an easy pool, but it's overly difficult. I'd say it's somewhere in the middle, and we involve no less than different consultants and engineers when we do any kind of earthwork or dirt work, including building pool when it comes to inspections, including the city. I hope, and I looked at some of the gravel that Missy had put in place illegally, and I pulled up some of the grass, and it actually looks like pretty good base rock, class 2 base rock, which I'd be surprised about because some people just dump garbage and contaminated materials. I'm pretty enthusiastic about, and optimistic, I should say, about being able to push some of that to the side. And on our first phase, we would build the wall. We would take out all of the old failing work. And as you walked around, you probably saw how bad it is. and we'd stabilize the slope by building a new wall. And then I would use some of this material as backfill and make sure it's compacted properly. All of the elements that were never originally done. The second part of my conversation just sort of relates to, I've had probably neighbor meetings. And as I mentioned earlier, it's really important to me that neighbors, because I'm around for a year or longer, and it's if we don't get along and they're not happy, it just makes everything harder for us and our crew. And I feel like we've really, with all the items checked, all the elements we talked about, and the neighbor screening, and options for screening the pool within by the commission on landscaping and screening, that we're just so close to this being everyone's favor. The one thing I struggle with, and this is what makes negotiation and compromise difficult, is when the goalposts keep getting moved. And I left a neighbor's house a couple of days, and we were all very happy about what we were proposing. And then I heard a few hours later that things need higher and maybe bigger trees and things like that. And I heard that the pool maybe get rid of the edge, but then I heard get rid of the pool. And it was just so many different dynamics. It's hard to really put a finger on this. And I can tell you that the Costas aren't interested in looking into somebody else's pool. They're not interested in looking into somebody else's front door. They're interested in property, taking care of all these elements that are just nasty and dangerous, and having a long time play community with their kids that they can enjoy. And if there's a concern about kids playing in the pool, where I live, my neighbor will, Saturday morning, can you cut out the lawn mowing? I like to sleep late, and so I don't mow the lawn on Saturday morning. Say that we can all work together on this and not be contentious. And I think there can be maybe win all around, but we all give a little bit, and I think we can have a good project in the end. And last but not least, I'd much rather have an application in front of me like this than somebody trying to exercise all these new rights, SB 9 and things like that, which we wouldn't even be talking about here. We would just have structured property that just fit within the allowable state mandated square footages and size and height, and we would even have a meeting. So, I just think there's a lot of value in thinking about it that way. I really do appreciate everybody's time. Thank you.
Thank you. Does any commissioner have any questions for the applicant? Marcia?
Yes, okay, here it is. Okay. I had a couple questions. How deep is the pool?
The pool is 6 foot max depth.
And so would you consider maybe having it 4 feet?
I would probably want to defer to you
Okay.
guys on pool depth, but I think that could be discussion. Yeah.
And the
Is
planter,
that in response to fill or cut concern? Or
multiple,
just- okay.
multiple
And wait.
reasons.
Okay, I just want to understand.
Okay.
All right, fair enough.
The planter that is below the lawn, which shows on the plans, there's no elevation or drawing. And it also has plants in it. I don't know what the plants are and what it looks like.
There was a planter below the lawn, and in response to 2 different neighbors, we pulled that out. So I don't know if there was something in a landscape drawing or something that was inconsistent, but there is no longer a planter below the lawn. There would be planting. That was in front of the pool.
The pool, not the lawn.
Yeah, there is one in front of the pool, but the lawn, there was one that has been removed. Maybe I can, yeah.
So it's,
So
it's
this
on,
is the lawn. You see the fence. There's no turret there.
it's on 2.0. And on the Belvedere side of the lawn, there's all this planting, and it's his planter.
That is showing, yeah, there was a planter there, but it's just the fence. That's just kind of.
So
yeah.
there's no planter or planting there.
No, I mean, I think we could plant there, but I guess part of it is this 8-foot fence kind of folded in a little bit last minute in response to the neighbors. So I don't think there'd be any sense in planting much there unless the commission asked for it. But there's no visibility there, so.
Okay. And there have been several notations about this. Are you lowering the roof in the garage by 3 feet?
Lowering the roof from the previously presented
Correct.
option we are. It used to, it was.
I think lowering it to 9 from 12.
That's right. So the previous one, we were trying to do a gable matched the existing. And I kind of skipped through it, but the garage height simply dictated by the Golden Gate Avenue elevation. The driveway down, you know, if we lower this, there would be absolutely no way to do that driveway. So I kind of skipped through that in the presentation, but yeah.
So the question is, what is the height
What is the height
of the garage?
of the garage?
Of the roof. The roof, yeah, the total.
You're talking about top of the elevation at the top or the clear height in the garage itself? Sorry.
The roof.
Roof.
What is the top elevation of the roof of the garage?
112.
112.6.
And I didn't really notice you had an area for the garbage cans to get off the street. I always really encourage that.
There is, yeah, good question. Let me pull that up real fast. So right to the right of the garage there, it's labeled new trash area. So that's existing driveway that would have an area there that would be a good spot for trash cans that we're intending.
Okay, so that would be covered. It would be,
Correct.
okay. So on 2.2, I had a question on kind of the part of the opening there that is actually in the hillside. It says storage to be converted to usable spacing. So what is that included in your square footage? What is that?
No, it's not. Sorry, I apologize. That note is misleading. So that is it's a crawl space right now, and there was discussion of just maybe doing a rat slab or something so you could put boxes in there, but it's really low ceiling height. There's no intention to do anything in there.
So that's not included in the,
No, it's not included.
okay.
What is the ceiling height?
Well, it varies because you actually see rock on the back side of it.
So
but
like
it's-
5 to
it's
5 to 4.
at its max, and I think it tapers to 2 feet or something like that.
Great, thank you.
And this is the same question someone else had. We need a count of how many trees will remain on the property, because sometimes that happens and all of a sudden, you know, they're gone, and we need to add tree when trees get taken out. I do have to, I just can't believe the inclination of anyone to butcher those trees that I saw on Belvedere Avenue. I mean, whoever did that hacked them off, doesn't know what they're doing. There was no one that even cared about the trees that would do something like that. And I was very upset to see it. It also gives privacy for Belvedere Avenue. So I just hope that that doesn't happen again and again. It's beyond trees like that. Some of them are just whacked off. There's just a stump sticking there. So obviously had incompetent people who were carrying that out. And it really doesn't do any for the environment in Belvedere by treating something like that. It's a perfect example about what not how to treat trees. And I mentioned to you, it would be very important to keep the large oak tree that near right-hand side of the pool looking down.
Yeah.
And should be protected.
Yeah, and I did take a look at that, and we could definitely protect that and keep that. And I think
And that will give you screening also for the ADU and also some shade.
Yeah.
And it will be a big benefit to the property. So those are my only questions at this point. Thank you.
Claire?
Yeah, I have one, and this is for Mark. We kind of touched on this, but I was wondering if you could go into more. You were expecting to take the excess cut out. So there will be gravel.
soil.
And just to clarify, you want to know how we're going to remove the material? So we have, we're also general engineering contract, have a fleet of equipment from small machines you can drive through a doorway up until big heavy excavators. And in this case, we really have options, and I need to study them further, but one is on the side of the property where all the stairs are that walk down. We can, since all that's getting replaced, we can grade that up and run track loaders up to the street for any material we need there. On the driveway side, we'll often stack what we call stacking mini excavators. So we'll have one down below and we can make a pile, and then we take that and we leapfrog it to the level area above, and then we load a dump truck from there. And I do want to speak a little bit to dump trucks and offal, because there was a concern about the trucking and cement trucks. And, you know, we've used truck drivers and cement truck drivers for many, many years, and truck drivers are owner operated, and this is their life and their family, and they own the truck, way more careful, in my opinion, than the people that were driving by me yesterday, running in on that road from their homes, and delivery trucks and stuff like that. So I know there's talk about trucks and off-haul, but I have to tell you, I feel like our drivers are safer than 90% of it. And that kind of includes me too, because sometimes I'm in and I have to catch myself. But that's how we would load the trucks and take them out.
Kevin?
I'm sorry. Okay, no worries. A couple of questions. One, I want to just start with process, Mark. I appreciate the perspective you in terms of how the process went, but I would just remind you that your experience and perceptions are your own and different than those of the neighbors. I think they would share that in their mind, the process was very different. So I think we all have to step back and realize that everyone's having a different experience, and it's not a good one, I think, on either side. So just that's probably more objective context. I'd say my question goes back to something that we talked about on site, and I wonder if you had an opportunity to explore an elevation, the perspective of Belvedere Avenue. So, I mean, one of the main concerns, obviously, of the folks on Belvedere Avenue is privacy and screening, and it's hard to know exactly what things might look at. And I know you're skilled at creating 3D, plans and so forth. And so it would be probably very comforting to get a true sense of what things might look at. Yeah. I'm also concerned about ensuring that we enter into the public record what currently exists. So we all have a baseline, so we know what we're trying to maintain. Things happen through construction, trees get lost, they get damaged. People come in and things down inadvertently or on purpose. And I think we need to be sure we understand what we're all striving for. So again, I would just ask you if you've had a chance to either think that through or think about how you might be able to provide that kind of information.
Yeah, fair question. So the 3D rendering we can absolutely do. Yesterday was the first time I had heard a request for it from anyone. So we tried to get our render on it late last night. It's just not enough time in 24 hours, but to provide that. And I don't know if that could be a condition to provide it or how it would occur, but the short answer is we're happy to do it. We just do it. We just come 24 hours. If I would have had that request, even 3 days ago, we would have been able to do it.
Okay, understand. I'm
So
sorry.
yeah, Mark was just adding the survey. Your point about wanting to document existing trees. The survey does have all the trees documented at point of record, but a rendering could support that as well.
Yeah, well, and I think the rendering, a tree could be any size, any shape you're providing. Those trees were, 20 feet tall or 10 feet taller, who knows, a week ago. And so they also need to understand, again, what everyone's agreeing to and striving towards in terms of privacy and screenings.
Yep.
There's something to at least use, as you're having a discussion in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a little bit more tactical is, I think my other questions have been mainly answered regarding the plans, but I had a question about lighting. And we discussed this on site, I think, is what's the height of the railing light going to be set at? Do you know?
Yeah, so our landscape architect couldn't be here tonight, but I did talk to him and he had said it would be between 18 and 24 inches typically. So it could be
So lower down, not on top of the post, but below.
Exactly, yeah.
And then in that light is 8 enough? Is it too many? Could it be less providing lighting?
I think the short answer is it probably could be less if it was overdone.
Yeah, light pollution is certainly a concern I mean, from coming from the glazing on the house, but then also coming up from whatever's happening down. And I think the same question, it sounds like the pool lights haven't yet been spec'd, but I mean, my concern would be the same is how do we, provide lighting that's appropriate for the pool, but then also is not adding pollution. I think right now they're spec'd to have 4, and could we do with less?
I think you had made a point that flipped to the opposite side, which may be better. So it's pointed back towards the house.
I wish I had made that point. Somebody else.
Okay, somebody did.
Pat made that point. I'll take your credit though.
Taking my suggestion.
Apologies, Pat. Yeah, it's a great suggestion. And we're happy to do that. That's an easy one. So.
I had construction plan and staging. I think we've discussed enough, and I know there'll be more that comes with that. I had one other question in the application itself. Is the project is estimated to be valued at $1,000, and I was wondering, just based on the scope and scale, how did you arrive at that number?
I think that predates Mark, so I won't throw him on. Yeah, I think we, when we look at the square footage, and there was some other GCs involved that helped us come to that number, but I think it would be fair that we reevaluate with Mark's involvement. So
Building also looks at that continually project to make sure that the valuations are captured.
that's right. I think you have to submit a detailed worksheet during building permit. So yeah,
Great. That's it.
I think that was submitted quite a while ago. We can relook.
Thank you.
Nana?
All my questions have been,
Mine got answered. Thank
yeah,
you.
my
okay.
questions have been answered. Thank you.
All right, I have a few questions. Okay, that was done. So on page A 1.4, when we're proposing to take away the unpermitted gravel, why are we at fill to the lawn area and the patio area by the pool? If we're going down to the grade or the original grade, excuse me.
Part of it, there's offset going on. So part of it is bigger. It's not the same shape. The patio is up 4 feet from the lawn. So if you look at the existing lawn, it's a bigger footprint than we're at now, if you include patio and lawn. And our civil engineer took a look at it and came up with that. But there's definitely some offset. We're also cutting in further at the back of the lawn than the previous lawn. So there's some balancing going on there.
So let me ask you one other question. I understand that you now have a TASI survey that shows what the original grade was back in whatever year that was done. And have you been able to interpret that into this current plan to how the height is going to be impacted? Or is that something you need more time to work on?
I think we would need more time. It's quite a bit of data to extrapolate, but what I did do in these sections, if you look, I think what everybody wants to see is illegally built versus existing. So there's a purple line that is denoting 4, and then the blue line is denoting when that lawn was built. And I think what, I'd like to put a more official exhibit there and do it holistically. But we did start that process today. Didn't have that other survey till kind of last minute.
Okay, I just was under the impression that you might have some elevations there. So let's see. I got answered. Oh, here's one on L.0.04. Why do you have the porta potty and the hand wash down on Belvedere Avenue? And are you going to be having to go into in order to get the porta potty there, whereas all your workers are going to be up on Golden Gate?
Well, I discourage our guys from using the bathroom hours because of the time limits. So we put it far away, and so they just hold it. So I think that I haven't been involved in the construction management plan. We would put it up probably the garbage enclosure up there. And one thing I didn't mention is we playing very little on Belvedere Avenue at all. Work-wise, it's inconvenient for us, and more importantly, it's inconvenient for the community.
The only reason I mention it is because I looked at the area and you would have to like cut into the hill a little bit
not happening.
Take out vegetation and everything else.
No, we'll put it up top because it would be a nightmare to even have the weekly cleaning done by blocking the road down there. So we're way better off doing it above.
Okay, and then the question I have is after we've had the clarification from the staff on how to measure the height of the garage down to the grade on the side, do you have any idea of what that height might be?
Yeah, I think when we were on site, I did what you were asking, because I thought you were talking about our lawn, which is on the opposite side. We were talking about through the natural grade. So I strongly believe we're under the height limit. I don't know what it is. Get back into the software and run it. I can do that quickly, but I don't know off the top of my head. You know, Sammy, I think has looked at. I believe we're.
I'm sorry. Well, that's my next point is in, thank you, Ashley. In 19.56070, it says that if you're on a downhill slope, and if you're within 40 feet of the downhill slope on the street side, which would be Golden Gate, and you have a building within that first 40 foot, that your maximum height is 28 feet, not 36. So I think we would need to just confirm what that height is. I don't know, you might be right around 28, you might be a tad over, it might have to be something that is addressed.
Okay.
And then I know construction and management is a bit early to get into it. But I do questions is that on the south side, where you're going to be rebuilding all the stairs, you're also going to be tearing out all the pittosporum that's there on that side. Yes.
No, our plan is to not tear out all of the vegetation along that fence line. That is important for the Costas and the neighbors as well.
And then you do understand that curb right there where you're talking about using on that south side
Yes.
is all painted red.
Yeah, so we won't be using that curb then. So we would be going downhill for our loading. Unless for whatever reason, we were able to get permission from the fire department and the building department. And I don't expect we will or won't, but that would be the only reason we do that.
Okay. And then one other question I have is when we were on site, we talked about the gravel and I asked that you said you were going to be using about 50 square cubic yards from the cut to the fill on the project. And then the subject of the gravel came up, what's underneath the turf. And you said you thought reuse it. And he said, I believe you said, the engineer said we use it. So
I think what I said is I believe the engineer assumed we couldn't. I don't think he was saying we can't, but I think we collectively need to investigate what's under there a little bit more properly answer that. We do have a soils report, but I don't believe they did borings below that, but it's something we could quickly get back.
okay, because I think that obviously we need to correct what was done illegally. And if all that gravel needs to go off site, but we need to be honest with the community that we're going to have X amount site haul just to correct what was created with it. And so I just want to be upfront and transparent to the community that this is going to turn into a big project with that gravel, whatever portion, all of it, half of it, quarters of it, whatever, to go away is going to add substantially to your off-haul. And so that calculation needs to be apparent for us to, and it's not that we can say, no, you do that because it has to go. But I want to be open to the community so everyone understands that we're just not allowing you to have kind of off-haul. It's only because you're correcting a situation that needs to be corrected that was created by someone else.
Okay.
So you're going to have to calculate whatever goes away. And let's see. And it would be great to get the 3D elevation. I did ask for that on Monday. And you talked about the infinity pool. Marcia brought that up, so I think that's all good. So I think we just, you know, really to see the plans with what were original grade versus the modified grade, so we can understand everything very early and know exactly what's, you know, going to be happening. So those are my questions. Anyone else? Did you have clear? Okay. So with that, I'll open the public hearing, and is anyone here that wishes to speak? Deborah?
Okay. Can you hear me?
Deborah, please just state your name.
Yeah. My name is Deborah Wilton. I live at 2 Eucalyptus. Thank you, commissioners for your attention. At the Planning Commission meeting last year, the project was unanimously rejected and continued, with some members of the Planning Commission commenting that the proposed decks and pool did not belong on this plot. Many of the same issues remain. Fundamental issue is that the previous owner built a non-conforming, non-permitting lawn area along the entire length of the property that significantly negatively impacted all the neighbors and changed the grade of the lot. While it was removed years ago, this project takes this structure as a starting point and simply attempts to legalize by providing adequate engineering. One of the main functions of the Planning Commission is to enforce our Belvedere Municipal Code in order to protect the beauty of our community and our surroundings. It's a difficult job, but it's you we have to rely on. I want to focus my specific remarks on 4 issues. And excuse me for going so quickly, I'm really aware of my time. Privacy, community, construction, and the planning process itself. On privacy, as stated, the non-conforming structure that raised the grade by 6 feet approximately destroyed and resulted in a clear and unambiguous invasion of our privacy at 2 Eucalyptus. The owners know this, the commissioners have seen it. During the last minute iterations, the plan show a privacy fence, which mitigates this issue of privacy, which we deeply appreciate. Story poles were put up yesterday afternoon, which allow us to evaluate the impact on the sight lines. We've asked that the fence be increased 7 feet high from 6 feet high because of our looking at them. We've also considered the landscaping plan and to be planted between our properties because all of the current landscaping will be removed during this construction process. Hence, we've requested that the 3 Saratoga laurels and the 6 English laurels be increased from 24-inch boxes to 48-inch boxes. We think it's unreasonable to expect us to wait 15 years for landscaping to be restored between our properties. We'd also request that the plan show an irrigation plan, otherwise the plantings will suffer the same fate as the trees that the current owner planted that have died. This brings me to my second point, that is how the project will impact the community we live in. The latest drawings include a fence running the complete length of the non-conforming structure to shield the neighbors below on Avenue and those who walk along Belvedere Avenue from looking up the new concrete retaining walls. I am one of those people that walks on Belvedere Avenue daily. The drawings also indicate that only the existing oak trees, Belvedere Avenue, will remain. And all the other acacias and shrubbery are relevant and will be removed. We would note, and we can only go by what is on the drawing at this point. We would note that the current owners have recently chopped off about 15 feet of their existing acacia trees at the bottom of their. If the trees do not survive, we'll all be left looking at an 8-foot fence, and the beauty of the natural landscape, which has already been compromised, will be totally lost. Also, I want to add no other plantings are called for on Belvedere Avenue. The ground will be left barren. We would note that we have no schematics of this project as viewed from any vantage point. The architect's website showing schematics for most of his other projects. This makes it impossible to assess its visual impact. We're in complete agreement with what's raised by our neighbors who live on Belvedere Avenue. On the subject of construction, this is one of the most important, yet there are no specific construction plans other than what Mark has said tonight for us or the commissioners to consider. We can't just go by what good words like. How the building will be built, at least 2 to 3 years, is just as what is to be built. The plans indicate that there will be 600 cubic feet of cut and 550 cubic feet of fill and 350 cubic feet of off-haul. How will dump trucks, cement trucks, all the subs access this site? We've been told by the builder that he intends to take everything out via Golden Gate Avenue. He stated that there would be no work done from Belvedere Avenue, which means that all the earth, cement, materials, et cetera, will transit up the narrow corridor within the 10-foot setback that is between our properties at the critically narrow intersection between Golden Gate and Eucalyptus Hill. Does that mean to stop?
If you could, sorry, if you could wrap it up.
I'd like to cede 3 more minutes, if that's possible.
Okay, very good. Can you please reset for 3 minutes?
That means that every dump truck and cement truck that will be stationed at the critically narrow intersection between Golden Gate and Eucalyptus on a steep hill that's already very dangerous. And as you noted, marked with a red line protecting it for fire engines. And where will all the subs park for the next 2 and 3 years? All the way down Eucalyptus. We want to make it clear that this would be a complete disaster and disturbance to our community, and want it on public record that it puts all the people that live on Eucalyptus at risk of having a head-on collision due to the fact that one cannot see what is coming up from Eucalyptus, nor vice versa, due to the gradient of the roads. Any revisal would have to include a clear construction plan and a ban on parking along the first 150 feet of Eucalyptus. We have had firsthand experience of the inability of the city to enforce parking along Eucalyptus, hence the need for a clear and enforceable ban. Lastly, the planning process. We've had a great deal of experience with the planning process over the 15 years that we have lived in Belvedere, and we have a thorough understanding of Chapter 2004. But this process has serious flaws. Some have been revealed tonight. First is the unnecessary compressed schedule. Second is inadequate communication, and third is the burden on all individuals involved. For example, the first time we heard of this resubmission of this project was a notice in our mailbox last week. We had not seen final plans, there were no story polls, we had many questions, the architect was on vacation. We then went online to see a staff report that was written without anyone from city staff attempting to visit our residences and to get my feedback. This is unacceptable to find out about a project of this magnitude on short time frame, and to have a staff report written without consultation of those most impacted. I'd like to submit a proposal that a separate meeting entirely be held to constantly evaluate the planning process. In conclusion, I'd like to restate that we agree with our neighbors below that the project is not ready for approval, anywhere near approval. And I thank you for your.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience? Yes, please.
My wife would like to see their time. Can we go with
Oh.
6 minutes?
Yes, thank you, Joe.
Hey, guys,
So, yeah, 6 minutes.
ready to go? Okay, ladies and gentlemen of the Planning Commission, thank you for the opportunity to address our concerns regarding the proposed project at 105. While we support many aspects of the project, we still feel there are several violations of Title 20. Today, I will discuss our four concerns: destabilization of the hillside, our right to privacy, noise pollution concerns, and light pollution concerns. Destabilization of the, even though the variances have been removed, it doesn't take away the high risk of destabilizing the steep slope Belvedere Avenue as a result of the construction and installation of a pool, which will require disturbing and removing around 600, 900, maybe it's a different, I don't know. We'll figure that one out. Now, we understand pools have been approved on hillsides on Belvedere. And we understand the builder has experience building pools and he's a charismatic guy. However, we believe this project is different. And what makes it this different is one, the constrained and narrow space they have to work with. Two, the close proximity of the pool to two downslope neighbors. And three, the even closer proximity to Belvedere Avenue. So for the first point, if you take a look at the website, a majority of its projects involving outdoor and pools are built on large, flat lots, not a steep hillside. Secondly, this is a unique section of Belvedere Avenue, given there are not just one, but two downslope neighbors that would be in such close proximity to the proposed pool. And Section 20.04.005, item D, calls to ensure that operation of existing development occurs in a manner which maintains the attractiveness and character, especially when the project is viewed from the city streets and from adjacent properties. Belvedere Avenue is used by the entire community. It should just not be an afterthought. So the proximity and elevation of Belvedere Avenue is what makes this proposed pool different. If only one of these conditions were in play, a pool would probably work. But we feel all three conditions taken together make this site completely unsuitable for a pool installation. Noise pollution. The constant waterfall noise of an infinity pool would violate a quiet enjoyment of our property. Again, we would be able to hear the noise because the proposed pool would be to our home and the street. Privacy and screening. Section 20.04.040.5 calls to ensure that landscaping serves to soften or screen the structures when viewed off-site. Section 20.04.150 states that fences should preserve the privacy between adjacent dwellings. Section 20.04.200 states that landscape plans should preserve privacy. Referencing these three codes, we would like to see a privacy fence on top of the entire length of the retaining wall, which would include the new patio, new outdoor dining, new outdoor kitchen, new lawn area. The overall hillside land plan should provide screening of concrete walls and fences and vegetation to help stabilize the hillside. Light pollution. In May of 22, when we moved in, there was a tall and thick layer of acacia trees that used to be above or at the roof line of 105. The applicant's original plan removed all of those trees. Even though the new plan keeps them, they have been taken down approximately 15 feet, 20 feet, we don't know. The trees used to be above their roof line when looking up from Belvedere Avenue, which provided ample and allowed for very little light pollution. Now we can clearly see not only their top deck, bottom deck, and the entire half of their home is lit up when it's lit up. In addition to our privacy, because the trees were cut so badly, twice, they are now an eyesore, not just to our front door, but to every single person who walks along Belvedere Avenue every single day. There will be increased light pollution from 36 new landscape lights, as well as an interior set of lights emanating from at least a 37% increase in square footage, new windows and doors. So in conclusion, I would address the confusing communication. You gave inaccurate story polls. There were last minute communications. It didn't come early enough. The plans were never accurate and inconsistent. So I don't know if it's appreciated if you say that we didn't take our efforts on that. I don't know if that's cool. Anyway, in conclusion, section 20.04.005, item H calls to balance personal prerogatives with public interest and welfare. As we support many aspects of the project. However, we do not support a pool that risks destabilizing an already precarious hillside, further damaging or killing and acacia trees, causing noise pollution and our right to privacy. Given the importance of Belvedere to the character of the island, the enhancements of a single property cannot outweigh the negative impact, not only to adjacent properties, but to the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, thank you. Mhm. She's giving her 3 minutes, don't worry.
Okay.
Yeah.
I need to get to some exhibits on this. Do I just X this out, this current screen? Yeah, I loaded it on there. You see if I can find it. It's okay if I minimize Zoom.
No,
Here it is, right there.
yeah, but let me do it. Sorry. It might just be, well, yeah, famous last words. Oh, it's right here. It's gonna look. So, okay. So, Sammy Eddie.
Yeah, it's
Is it this? Not 95 West Shore.
exhibits. Okay, it's on the desk.
It should be showing here. Is that this?
No. Sure.
Oh, you know what? Okay,
It's right there.
okay, let's open it
Yeah, that's where it is.
and then minimize it. And go back. Where's the zoom? Here, okay.
That's it.
There we go. Amazing.
Okay, we need to get to
Not too bad. Hold on.
the whole screen shows. Okay. We need to get to
There
the
you
next
go. So
screen,
you
scroll
should,
down.
the air
Okay,
should
great.
work.
Got it. Thank you.
Not the mouse, but the arrow. There you go.
Good evening. My name is Roy Wickland, and my wife Kathy and I live on 15 at 50 Litter Avenue, just directly below the project. I want to set the record straight. We do not oppose the project. I know that was shown in the staff report. We support the building of the home. Hope they can get their home built and the project built. There's some components of it that we do not like, and we've expressed our concerns for over a year now. Some things we wanted to see changed, and the changes did not happen in the manner that we need for. So tonight there's 3 areas I want to focus on. One is the first exhibit you see on your screen is the privacy fence. The current plans call for a privacy fence that the top of the fence is 2.5 feet below level of the deck in the pool. So it may provide some screening from side stand, and even if it's raised to 8 feet, it might provide some screening, but it doesn't abate the noise issues and the privacy issues. An 8-foot fence on that steep slope made out of wood, maybe give it 5 to 10 years, and it'll look like some of the other fences on Belvedere Avenue that are down. I don't think that's a good long-term solution for the owners of the property or for the city of Belvedere. We need to find a solution that works and is permanent. Now, recommendation is, if you look at this existing drawing, it shows the fence located at the same level as where the activities occur, be it adjacent to the deck, the dining area, the lawn area, a fence that provides permanent screening, hopefully not wood, but made at least the posts out of metal with some material in between that is permanent in nature. And again, as I'm emphasized, it is not only visual, it has to be noise. And the fence being down the hill below all the activities, it may screen from the activity, but it's not going to do much to abate the noise level in the swimming pool or the lawn area. The second area of concern is the pool itself. We've tried to come up with some solutions for the pool. In all honesty, the pool was recently lowered by 10 feet, which puts it that closer to Belvedere Avenue and that much closer to our home and our front door. And we believe we've tried to find solutions to minimize the impacts of that, and have been unable to get direct responses from the architect, owner, and builder on what they would do to mitigate it. That's why the goalposts have moved, because we haven't been getting answers. And the owners have not been available to meet directly on this. It's only been through the architect and the builder, which can't make decisions on behalf of the owners. So we've come to the conclusion, the only solution term that's the best interest of not only ourselves, but people traveling, walking bike down Belvedere Avenue, is to eliminate the pool. And if you look at the pool itself, the other it causes and concern it raises is the possibility for destabilizing there. And if I did a drawing here, this cross section shows the area of soil that is to be removed or disturbed to build their structure. And if you look at the mass of that brown area, the water in the swimming pool, just compare it to the size of the house, it's a huge amount of material that's going to be disturbed. And that lower slope below it is subject to who knows what kind of impacts associated with that work. So for that reason, that there's seems to be no solution to solving some of the other issues with the pool, we recommend the pool be eliminated. It is a very narrow lot, as Tony mentioned earlier. It really isn't best suited for a pool. There are some sites on steep slopes in Belvedere that pools do work, but I think because of the proximity to Belvedere Avenue and the nature of this site, it'd be best not to have the pool. And we're concerned about the stabilization of the slope along base of the slope along Belvedere Avenue. The average steepness property is 57% according to the staff. That's the average. There's some areas in some less steep areas. The area along Belvedere Avenue, the steepness of that's much greater than 57%. We would like to see some kind of work along that hillside there, whether it's riprap, whether it's a small wall, whether it's some kind of other solution that would stabilize that and provide screening for both whatever structures are built in the way of a retaining wall or hopefully a fence at grade level where activity occurs, and also screening of the bulk and the mass currently, I think there's no plans on the do any landscaping below the infiltration trench there. So most everything below that would be left natural. We think it has to be planted with screen, permanent trees that will grow high and screen whatever fencing is there, whatever walls are there, and more stabilizing that slope so we don't have further erosion. Those of you that have seen, you can see that between the deer and the trucks driving up on the hill itself to pass there, the slope is slowly deteriorating. It's only going to get worse. How much time do I have? What? Perfect. I was going to say one other thing, but I won't.
No, go ahead.
Thank you.
One last thing.
Oh,
Sorry,
when
say the one.
Irene was the planning director on many projects like this. She had a paragraph, and actually she sent it to me, and I have a couple of copies of it. I meant to introduce it tonight, but I didn't. About providing the contractor providing a van to and coming up with offsite parking in the town in order to bus contractors and employees in to minimize the parking. I didn't see that anywhere in the staff report, and she did something in the staff report for the Planning Commission. I would recommend that be considered by the commissioner, so we minimize the impacts on both Golden Gate, Eucalyptus, and also Belvedere Avenue.
That's pretty standard when we get into area.
Okay, thank you. Any questions?
No,
Thank you.
thank you. Anyone else? Okay, Sean, would you like 5 minutes just to respond?
I don't need 5 minutes, but I did want to mention a few things. I think we all understand the privacy concerns.
Excuse me, interrupt for 1 second. I'm sorry. Let's see if there's anybody online that has any
I'm
comments.
sorry.
Thank you. There's no one online.
Thank you. Sorry. Go on, sorry.
Thank you. Yeah, I think the privacy concerns, we definitely, and we've tried to work. I just want to mention the pool is in the building envelope. I think some of these asks, if we were in the setback, I understand a little bit more, but we're within our building envelope, violating any setbacks. And I also would just maybe mention that I think both 18 and 19 Belvedere, most of their decks, spaces, windows are facing the water, right? This is the there's a front door, but there's not a lot of living spaces. It's okay.
Okay,
Okay.
folks, I closed the
But-
public meeting, so he has his right to make his statement. You, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll leave it at that.
I'm going to just speak specifically to, well, two things that were raised. One is when we had left our meeting yesterday evening with the neighbor, understood that, if we didn't put the fence on the pool, they just, on top of the pool edge, they couldn't support the project. And the very matter of fact statement, and Sean and I appreciated their perspective, and ours is that, essentially walling in the Costas from east of their property. But there wasn't any sort of talk about if you don't do that, then we don't want you to have a pool anymore. So that's why I brought up the goalpost comment. But as far as erosion control down on the road, this is something to me that's completely independent of the project, but happy to do it. Like I talked about before with planted jute biodegradable netting. I think this can be easily handled with the commissioner review at the landscape stage after the project's been approved before we get a building permit. It's real easily done. I can show another Belvedere that we did it. And lastly, I just don't want there to be any confusion about whether or not a pool can be built here. As I mentioned on in my presentation, this is I would say a 5 out of 10 complicated, difficult pool for me. Done 8, 9s, and 10s. So it's not a matter of if a pool can be built here. The engineers would support this, and I know it can be done. And there's only pool builders I would even use, and both of them could easily handle this pool. So I wanted to speak to that. And lastly, I think, again, when we get very, although we're builders, we get very involved in the planting and landscape side of things as well. And I have sort of a network of people that I trust to do this stuff, and also arborists. So we will be sure to include many different experts in the planting process to make sure that that happens early on in the project, so that things mature as the project's going, instead of some projects, people wait till the very end to plant. And so I've, out of our neighbors, and as Mr. Burke mentioned, people have different experiences, not just the builder, the owner. And one of the things I've learned along the way is to do things that can help the project along from their perspective as well.
Thank you. Sean?
I'm going to say one more thing. I might get yelled at in the gallery again, but my professional opinion is that asking someone to put a 6 foot completely around their yard within their building envelope, it really changed that space. Obviously, the Costas could get zero view from any of their rear yard spaces. So that's why we try something that could maybe mitigate it further on, where the Costas could still enjoy their yard. But if you can imagine a 6 foot fence around your entire yard where your family plays, your kids play, I think that's a little unreasonable. So I just want to say that. That's all.
Sure. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing and bring it back to the commission to discuss. And Marcia, would you like to lead off?
This design remodel has improved, but many details really still need to be clarified. And as you know, there's still a lot of things on things that need to be defined. the lower fence outline was just done on Monday, so it, that was really difficult to see later. This project is kind of a growing, to me, it's a growing size it just keeps growing on a steep lot that is, as you mean, 47% slope, trying to fit it all in. The footprint is really just on the building. So the building is now 3 floors because so much keeps adding on to it. In my opinion, I think the privacy issues have been addressed on eucalyptus. I think by adding all the extra landscaping and the trees, I think solves the problem there. And as I mentioned, there can be a compromise on the pool to make it a little bit shallower, and also perhaps have it a different kind of infinity pool, so the water doesn't constantly, but when people get in, maybe the water goes over, so it doesn't really incur on sound and noise to the neighbors. I think that can be, with all those comments and other questions I have, I do that the project probably needs to be continued to have those things corrected. I am having trouble making the findings for the exception to FAR. I'd have to see some changes for that. So those really are my comments at this point.
Thank you. Kevin? Please.
Sure, and I appreciate everyone's feedback and commentary on the plans. It's very helpful, and it ensures that we're trying to make decisions in the context of everybody's needs, because it's really about trying to find a balance. I do think that it's made progress from where it was before. Involved in May of 2022. I wasn't on the commission at that time, but it feels like it's made progress. But I do feel, to Commissioner Oslasky's point, it probably needs more tightening in order for it to really to the finish line or get over the finish line. And I think it's really around the issues that everyone's been discussing tonight. I don't think they've addressed fully and completely, but I do think that they can be. Privacy continues to be an issue for the downward neighbors on Belvedere Avenue. I agree that it appears that 2 eucalyptus has been resolved. That said, I do think that we need a very clear plan where existing trees removed, what's being planted, what we envision it to look like. Have that documented so everyone feels comfortable for what we're striving for. Because right now, if everyone has the right intent and all of the right words are said, I mean, we really don't have anything to manage against. And I think everybody deserves the comfort of having the specifics. So I'd say, I would need to see that neighbors would feel more comfortable if they saw that. And I think the applicant would as well. Everybody knows where we're starting from and what we're all striving to achieve. I think destabilization, it was brought up in May. It's been brought up again. I don't know typically what would give us further comfort from a destabilization of the hill or sizing the hill through this process. But it does feel like it's an open-ended question and concern of the neighbors, especially if the pool moves forward. And so I have an answer for how we would try and give people confidence that this project can be done and the hill, in fact, would come out of this in a better position. I mean, because theoretically, with the right piers and so forth, it could be even more stable. But I don't know what we would ask or require to get to that. I don't know if you could help with that one.
So that's usually in the building purview when it comes in.
Yeah, I think,
For permit.
Sorry, I should have looked at you.
Typically,
lifeline.
we don't ask for a full set of construction documents at a page. Obviously, this plan has had a few iterations of the pool. I think it's a sort of false start. It's costly for the applicant to delve into documents. What I can say with confidence is that should any pool get approved, we'll go through the building department and the building permit process where it will require engineering. We will send it out to our consulting plan. It's also an engineering firm as well as a building official. And so it will be vetted through the building process. And it's in the city's best interest to issue a building permit that is valid and is seen by the
I hear
proper
you.
professionals.
Yeah, and I wonder if in certain situations like this, there's something in between, or there's a half step forward that would give the neighborhood more comfort to know, because once it goes to building, it's out of the hands of the neighbors. I mean, they have to assume that everything is going to be done according to a standard that they would feel comfortable with. But again, I don't know. I mean, this is unusual. And so maybe there's a creative way to come back with these other pieces of information that include something that makes it or more comfortable.
I can talk to Brian Vance on our building official, as well as, I think, if we should answer now, Mark could probably answer that. I don't
Yeah.
know if you want to reopen the public hearing, but.
That would be, and then I think there was I lost the comments, community and construction also came up a few times. I do think that the community piece is tied to the stability of the hill and then the privacy and the screening on Belvedere Avenue to ensure it continues to deliver the experience that people all love about it today. But again, I think with more specific plans as it relates to the downward side of that hill, I think we might be able to get there. And the last piece, and I think this is there's two things. The pool, whether there is one or isn't one, I think honestly, it's going to be hard to envision not having a pool or not seeing a pool go forward just based on precedent that's been set in the community. I mean, the two adjacent neighbors have pools in similar positions. The slope, I don't know if they're 57% or not, but in any event, I think not having a pool is vision from a planning perspective. But I do think there are things, as Marcia or Commissioner Lasky said, we could do to help mitigate that in terms of maybe eliminating the infinity, changing the pool so the use is more defined to get people more comfortable. And so I would hope that between now and the next meeting, those conversations can happen openly and transparently between the neighbors and the applicant to get to a place of compromise on that particular issue. And I think those are my main comments, but I agree that with the lack of information on some of these important topics, we would probably need to have this continued.
Thank you. Commissioner Hart?
Yeah, we've been there, we've seen it, we've looked at it, previous meetings, etc. I have to say I agree with many of the issues that fellow commissioners have brought up, but I still have a very hard time wrapping up around how a property-long illegal structure covered in green plastic suddenly has become like the foundation of a totally redo of the natural slope, natural setting of this lot. We have it in our code that we should try to minimize the change of our lots, minimize the cut and fill. And I feel that this dream or idea of having an enormously large flat play area in front of us where the natural slope is just steep and filled with bushes and trees. I have a really hard time wrapping myself around that to approve it and make the findings. But will the input from the commissioners and I think the neighbors, maybe this can be worked into something that I would approve. But as far as it is now, I think the only thing I could recommend is to continue this project.
Thank you. Commissioner Slaymaker?
I agree with, also with most of my commissioners on what has been brought up. After listening to all of the neighbors and also the architect and the contractor. I know they've been trying to make some changes to work with everybody. I guess for me, the most important thing that sticks out is to mitigate the unpermitted lawn structure, the original grade. For me, that seems like the new steps forward would be great if we could get back to that. Otherwise, I'm not going to carry on about this other issues there because we have a lot that I think can be solved. But with a lot more, work, I feel like that if the homeowners had gone and engaged with their neighbors earlier, and they could have talked about the process together, that we wouldn't be in the situation now, that possibly some of these problems could have been answered. And I also think that one of the things that a lot of architects and homeowners don't think about is how important it is that the back of your property look nice also, because everyone that walks on the streets around Belvedere Avenue, drives on the streets, lives on the streets, looks up at what's back there. So it's so important that we, in the future, look at this and solve it early. So at this point, I cannot make the findings.
Thank you. Gary Johnson.
Yeah, visited the site. I actually went back today. I just want to say, I appreciate the work that was done to address some of the comments from last time. I think removing the variances is a good place to start, but I concur with the rest of the committee feedback around just there's so many details here that need to be worked out before I would feel comfortable approving this plan. I think that if you can look at this project through the lens of restoring privacy and safety, and use that as the guiding principle, not just for the backyard, but for the whole project, for the whole remodel. Look at it through that lens. Is restoring privacy and safety, getting that hillside back to a place where it's safe, there are no concerns, really kind of filling in all of these places where the trees have been topped, have been taken out. I think a lot more can be done that would address neighbor concern on all sides. I do agree with Mark, the concerns on the side of 2 eucalyptus have been taken care of with the fence and the planting. But I would like to see a full landscape plan that includes not just the trees that are there currently, but what was taken out before you bought it. As I understand that there were some really big significant trees that I'm sure added a lot of screening. So it'd be nice to know what was taken out previously, what is slated for removal, and then where we can kind of fill in with some big significant plantings that will help kind of screen and restore privacy. I have questions about an infinity pool in this setting. I don't have an issue with a pool. I wonder if maybe a lap pool is a better option here for a variety of reasons that we've already talked about. Again, I think so really look at cut and fill closely and just make sure that you're looking at it through the lens. Minimizing cut and fill, are we doing enough to minimize disruption to the neighborhood? And then I have questions about the exception to flora area as well. In this instance, when you have such a steep lot where the area has already been illegally extended and it's created privacy and safety concerns, I don't feel it's appropriate to grant an exception allowing even additional square footage, which will have more privacy impact on privacy and noise, and will add more cut and fill in a place where there's already stability concerns. So I just, I can't make the findings for that right now. Having said all of that, I don't think you're far off. I think if you sit down, I'm happy to do this with you. go through this list of feedback and just kind of address it point, I think you can get to a really good plan that we can approve. So those are my thoughts.
Thank you. So I, with what my fellow commissioners have said, that we need to back and find the original grade and kind of things out. We need to work on the privacy. Plants go a long way. In fact, I think plants offer a bigger sound barrier than a fence. And I think it's a nicer barrier to look at, something green, which is a piece of wood. So that, could be a thought. So I think that you've heard everyone's concerns. I think there are things that can be done that you can get to those. And to address the neighbors in those tonight, thank you very much. And I want you to know that construction management is very important. And construction management generally takes place at the time of building permit. We can, as a planning commissioner, put additional conditions on the project in responding to community concern. And as far as the stability of the hill, as Commissioner Burke said, it's hard for us to find that comfort zone. That's kind of not our expertise. That's why we have structural engineers, we have soil engineers, and I have several engineers in the family, and let me tell you, they're sure that things don't come down the hill because it's their stamp that's on those plans. So I think we have to have a bit of trust that the applicant's team are going to use top quality people, and that they are going to find the right way to stabilize the hill. As far as down on Belvedere Avenue, I don't know what to say about that because it is very tight there. I'm going to have the city engineer take a look at it, see if he has a suggestion. And I do hear what you all said, your privacy and the community. And I think that the commission has heard that, and they're trying to find a way through to allow the applicant to have a project and also have neighbors that are satisfied with this approved. So, and with that, I also concur. I have an issue with the, as it currently stands, with the exception to floor area ratio until some things get modified. And I think there's some ways to do a little diet. I ask the applicant if they would like to have this continued or to have a vote. Continue. Okay, may I have one to continue this project to a future date?
I move to continue 105 Golden Gate to a future date.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you. Moving on. Thank you. Item 4, 83 Beach Road. Can we have a staff report, please?
Thank you again, Chair Piet and Commissioners, for your consideration this evening as an application requesting design review and variance to install two exterior signs at 83 Beach Road, a historically designated structure. The project site is a 26,000 square foot lot developed with a mixture of offices and multifamily dwelling units in the R3 zoning district. The applicant proposes to add one 6 square foot sign that would hang from the building's street facing canopy. The sign would be constructed of wood and painted green with white font to read Holscher Architecture. The applicant also proposes a 5 square foot door sign in the building's street facing window. The sign would be rectangular shape, sticker and big font. Currently, Belvedere Land Company and Hadley General Contractors each have a hanging door sign along the building's facade at street level totaling 20 square feet. And the applicant requests a variance, section 1972-030 of the Belvedere Municipal Code to add 11 square feet of signage where 20 currently exist and 4 square feet are permitted. Staff finds that granting the variance would not constitute a special privilege inconsistent with limitations upon other properties in the vicinity, and that the building's age and history constitute a special circumstance that would deprive the property of privileges enjoyed by other properties under identical zoning classifications. Staff suggests the designers can also be satisfied as the new signage will be compatible with other structures in the neighborhood, construction in an oval shape painted in a green color. For those recommend adopting the resolutions tonight. Thank you.
Any questions for staff? Thank you. Can we hear from the applicant, please?
We actually want to simplify signs, so I'll show you what we want to be approved. This is Ashley recommendation. We kind of agree. This has been a long process for us, and we really can't wait to get it up. Jack, who's kind of man who doesn't like our construction sign in the front, will be very happy when this happens. Oh, no. Sorry.
It's okay. I got kicked out of Zoom.
I think that one was on the desktop. That one's in the server. I think file with everything is. Three for tonight's meeting.
I've never done that.
It'll be
This one? Presentation.
That's good. Yeah, this whole plan. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, please. Yeah. Hold on. I got it.
Come on. This one's different.
Era.
Okay,
Okay, you got it.
I'm going to go very quickly. This is where we work. This is the, oh, are we commissioners? Are we? We're paying
We all
attention?
pay attention.
We all good?
Yeah.
This is really important. This is our office. It's beautiful. I love it. This is our office in a bigger scale. I still love it. This is the existing signs that Sammy's already showed you. There is our new sign, which is in white Holscher architecture with WWH arc, with much smaller previous one, getting rid of the blue and having a singular color. What's kind of interesting, there's already two hooks matching our sign to that. There was a sign there before. And that's this presentation.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions for the applicant?
I was wondering, David, why you wanted mine bigger than anyone else. I actually, I mean, it's fine, but I actually like the original colors better, but whatever you would like.
Anyone else? Okay, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to this project? Nancy, anyone on Zoom? No one? Okay, no one. It's a public hearing, bring it back to the commission. Ashley, would you like to lead off?
I think these look, I really appreciate the change. Thank you. I can make the findings.
Anna?
I see the slight change in the green sign, but I think it's perfect. I actually like seeing the lines hanging. Yeah, so I can make the findings for the signage.
Kevin?
I can make the findings.
Claire?
I look forward to seeing it. I can make the findings.
Marcia?
I can make the findings.
And then so can I. Can I have a motion?
Go ahead.
I make a motion that we adopt the resolution granting design review for the new 6 foot, although is it 6 square now? It's less.
No, it's less. What is the square, the footage? It's one.
I think you could say as shown on the revised plan.
Okay, as shown on the reside plan.
2.25.
2.25.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. We move on to item number 5, 895 West Shore.
I have to be.
Oh, and you're,
So
there's a motion for a variance. Sorry, I don't have it in front of me. Is there a motion for a variance, Marcia, you missed?
we still do the variance?
Is the variance is with the new size?
Is there still a variance with the new sign?
Yeah.
Oh, no, because the variance was for going over the 20s.
I think we're.
So we don't need a variance, right?
And you still need a variance.
Okay,
Still need a
so-
variance.
4 square feet total for the building.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll reopen.
So do you need a motion on the table? Okay, I move, I move to adopt the resolution, a variance from maximum sign square footage per lot in the R3 zone 3 Beach Road.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations. You- Now we're on to 95 Beach.
I guess
I
I'll
have too
hold
much
on
stuff.
to this. Joe.
Yeah, I would.
This one.
I'll just take out this one.
Let the record show that Commissioner Slaymaker has left, being in close proximity to the next project. Recused. Yes.
Please start.
Thank you, Chair, Kiet, and members of the Planning Commission. Again, for your consideration this evening is an application for design review and revocable license for a residential remodel and 80 square foot kayak dock. The project site is a flat 10,800 square foot parcel in the R1W zoning district. The existing structure is a 2-level residence with a floating boat lift and dock on Richardson Bay. The property is toward the end of West Shore Road by single-family homes to the north and south. The project is a residential remodel, deck replacement, kayak dock, and other site improvements. At the front of the property, the project proposes to construct a new 42-inch tall batten screen wall. There will be landscaping, a new concrete driveway, and ipe deck. The project will lower the first story approximately 7 feet and 5 inches and expand the second floor deck from 220 square feet to 360 square feet. An existing wall will be replaced with an 80-inch tall privacy wall on the southern side yard. And waterfront improvements, the project will install a new 80 square foot kayak dock, relocate the existing boat lift, and replace existing decking with new ipe. The westernmost portion of the deck will be raised 2 feet to bring the deck to one level surface. It would install new glass guardrails along the decking. Would reduce the total lot coverage for structures by 14 square feet and reduce lot coverage for 98 square feet from the existing conditions. The project would not increase the existing 3,929 square feet of floor area. The roof and upper deck improvements, the project moved 1,600 square feet of the asphalt shingle roof and lower it up only 7 feet 5 inches. The new roof would be dark bronze with a standing seam metal. The project would convert unused space at the end of the deck to create additional usable space. The deck would receive new tempered glass guardrails, ipe decking, and an 11-foot wide retractable awning. Looking from the west elevation, the project would add 1 casement window on the southern side of the upper level. From the north elevation, the project would add 2 foot by 6 inch by 3 foot and 6 inch fixed windows and 1 solid wood single door. From the south elevation, the project would replace an existing wall with an solid wall to match the existing house, and new 4 to 5 foot tall glass railing would border the deck. The project would include Marvin windows and doors and a dark bronze board and batten siding in a gray color to match the existing, and a standing seam roof in a dark bronze color. Tempered glass railing would be constructed on the second level and waterfront deck as well. Here's a contextual photograph of the site. The yellow dash lines where the new roof line would be. The project would include 10 wall-mounted LED sconces, primarily at the entry and northern of the house, as well as 14 recessed downlights within the roof overhang. At the second level, 2 exterior wall sconces will be placed at the patio door. The project proposes small grasses consisting of Chodopetalum and blue rush in 1 and 5 gallon pots in planter beds at the front of the house. The applicant requests a license for improvements in the public right-of-way. These include a new trash enclosure and replacing or repairing the paved driveway, entry, side yard gate, residential landscaping, and retaining walls. Is categorically exempt from CEQA. Staff has received 2 letters in support of the project from both adjacent neighbors, 93 West Shore and 97 West Shore. The project is categorically exempt from CEQA. And as outlined in our staff report, we believe the facts support required design review findings and recommend the Planning Commission adopt the resolutions for the project 95 West Shore Road. Thank you, and I can answer any questions.
Any questions for staff? Seeing none, I'll ask to hear from the applicant.
Thank you, commissioners, and thank you for y'all the kite. I think that was really helpful. Here's a picture of the house without name. That doesn't happen too often. Oh, no. Yeah. Oh. No. I'm just going to show the neighbors.
Okay. Arrow, use these arrows.
Use those arrows, okay.
Yeah, different side.
Different, we're switching methods. So here is the existing house on the top and the proposed house on the bottom. This project started out as a true renovation. There's a lot of issues we have with the lower piers. One pier actually, I told you this before, but one pier actually fell down that we need to replace. So because it was on leased land, it didn't get a lot of, like we discussed, love. So this is basically a big rehab to have this house go another 50 years. Houses get beat up on the water, and it needs time and some love. Here is the floor plan. And you know, we aren't really changing any square footage. We're moving around the prime bedroom on this floor, redesigning the kitchen and redesigning the entry to the side of the kitchen. And as you know, the deck is at one level, ipe, which when you walk through, you realize a lot of that wood was rotted. So again, we're in the renovation and cleanup mode. Exterior lighting plan. One thing to note is we have 3 lights on the left side coming by the primary bedroom. That is blocked by a 6 by 8 foot solid screen. So those lights will not be seen by the neighbor. The rest are all recessed in and will never have with the and of the light will touch the water. We had a discussion of that with one of the commissioners. Here is just to clarify a little bit, there's actually a glass door where we have a door and 2 small windows. We're actually decreasing the fenestration on that, and also the 3 windows out of the kitchen. That also is a decrease in fenestration, new, but it's shrinking. And here's a kind of a good view from just the elevation of showing how low the slope is. So the deck above gets the beautiful view of the bay, which I think is spectacular. The entry, especially now, is not changing much other than the trash enclosure and cleaning up the walkway down to the water on the left side. Here is a section that all we are is redo. You can see on the left, it has the truss, big top, lowering 7 feet 5 inches. And then our deck is going out. Oh, by that you showed, Sammy, our deck that we're proposing isn't as long as that deck. Our deck is 8 inches. So that was an older drawing, but that's working out with. Just proposed of the new deck upstairs. We got rid of the 2 skylights, and we have an awning that will be used that comes in and out. It'll be in quite often because it gets a little windy there, but it's full sun with the west sun. Here's our material palette. Palope, we're making it by 6, so it can span to 18 inches, and keeping the gray siding. Not much is changing in the sense other than cleaning up in class. Our next slide. Oh, that's it. Oh, well, I had one more that we were going to bring. We want to discuss lowering the debt to 42% and make that part of the approved. It's currently 48. And Pat and I had a long talk. That's a little close. I don't think we're going to have dry rot in just replacing the windows as is, but I don't, because the house is over the water, I don't want my clients and I to have a panic call. That's not, as a professional, I don't want to allow that. And all we're going to do is not replace certain windows and the garage door and the front door. And will that be a separate project to whatever the amount of time that has to pass by? I think it's about 2 years. So I don't know if we can make an amendment to that, but I'd like to do that just so we could keep it safe. 48%, that's not a safe number for demolition. And this is as is, whereas replacing, like nothing is changing. So the house, the old good, and that's kind of it's a design review issue with Belvedere. Is where is demolition.
I think the best way forward, should agree with that, is we would condition it that we would require a revised plan showing 42% instead of 48%, as opposed to picking each window.
No, that'd be fantastic.
Great. Oh, I'm sorry. And then you mentioned the deck size is different in the plan set. Let's make sure we have the right dimensions on the plan set the commission is viewing.
Discussed this numerous times. It's from the edge of the wall out to the deck is 16 feet, 8 inches. What? Yes. And this was the discussion why the next door, they used to come out all the way to the hip and we brought it back with the discussions of the neighbor.
So what page are we on? Make it easy for us.
Okay, 18. Right, so it's 18 foot. Right. Right, and we're moving forward a little bit of the roof, right.
So this is on the second floor?
Yeah, it's the deck on the second
it's
floor.
the
We
deck.
had discussions with Martha and we had it all the way out and then we had negotiations and we came up with that number.
So that deck is going to come back a little bit? is what you're
Yes,
saying?
it is. It's coming back.
So you can correct that. So we have the right.
Yeah, I'll give you the copy in the morning.
Would it come back on consent? Or just,
We can condition that as well, that the new deck shall be the same length as the existing deck.
okay,
Is 18 feet, 6 inches
Correct.
18, 6 inches?
towards the roof. And is the,
And by the way, that's what you saw when you went there too. I mean, the caution tape that's exactly where it was. That's the correct one. Well done. Caution.
width dimension, just so we're.
It's
clear?
corrected. What's on the drawings is correct. We didn't, that does.
Hasn't changed. Okay, thank you.
Any,
Done.
Oh, sorry.
I'm done now.
We get punchy after now.
David, on AA 2.02, I think I asked you when I was there, but now I'm confused. That side, which is the north side, is that now glass railing?
Yes.
And before it was wood railing?
It was a screen. It was a wood screen,
And
correct.
so that's okay with the neighbor?
100% we worked out with the
Mr.
neighbor.
Geller? Okay.
Mr.
I know,
Geller,
I know.
though, confirmed that we worked out we had some great relationship working on, but we were smoke glass, the heights, we taped it up. And yes,
Okay.
yes.
Any other questions, Marcia?
No, I just had one more notation for you on the tree, the big tree that's in the front, you were going to make the planters smaller. It kind of concerns me that it would hurt the tree. I think you should leave the plant size it is. I
That-
mean, you
that's-
can paint the color the same as the other wood, but I think if you start putting a small tree is pretty big.
Yeah,
That was my only other
I think
concern.
would be fine with that.
Okay.
Commissioner Burke, any questions?
Just, can you go over the light thing again? It sounds like you had an on-site conversation with one of the commissioners, but that was the question, is just the lighting and possible pollution. So the way the lights, the recessed lights, they will not,
They will not touch the water. We had 3 that went up the side alley, but
Yeah.
on that alley, there's a screening wall that goes all the way up. So the lights will be blocked,
Okay.
basically. So that was our discussion. There was, so.
Okay.
And we actually had a discussion with of it today too. So we drew that in. So yeah.
thank you.
Nana, did you have any questions? Okay, I have just a few.
Oh, good.
We answered the overdrawn. So the trash enclosure, I just want to clarify, because in one point, the staff report, it said it was 42 inches batten in batten construction. And then on your plans, it shows this because it's concrete. And it's
We wanted
mentioned at 48 feet. So
40 inches.
48 inches. No, 48 feet.
48
We're all
feet.
bringing our garbage there.
Wow. We could use that as
48
a
inches.
climbing wall too. Uh,
It's 48 inches tall, concrete U-shape to enclose them so you don't see it. It's going to match the concrete wall on the other side, so kind of consistent. And then the little side wall is the 4-inch board and batten at the end.
Okay. And then I guess the only other thing, the revocable license. So my cheat sheet. So on some of your pages, you're not showing that planter box on sheet A5 1.00, AA 1.04, and AA 105. But then it's on other drawings, and you don't show that actually on your revocable license drawing. The plants that go in that,
We'll change that.
and the curb is like the curb it is now, and I think you're,
It's, everybody has that kind of rounded West Shore curb that is the entire street.
so, yeah, but you're gonna straighten, right?
Yes, yes. Oh, yeah. Oh, for the walking down, 100%.
Yeah,
Yes,
so,
yes, yes.
so show what's existing, you should show what you're proposing
Okay,
on the revocable license exit.
yes. That, yes, yes. Straight.
No, it's not. It's sidewalk. It's,
It's,
here, let me show you. If you go to it's AS1.
yeah.
Sorry, looked like a 5. Right here, Ashley. So on the revocable license right now, it's that stone stuff that kind of goes at an angle, and he's squaring it off and putting plants here, and that's not on his revocable license. Yeah. We want to make sure we get everything that needs to
Definitely.
be there.
Please.
Okay, so anyone in the audience that wishes to speak on this project? Yes, please come to the podium. State your name, Fred.
Hi, my name is Fred Gellert, and live at 93 West Shore Road, just the next door neighbor to the north. The letter, and I think you all got copies of the letter. I sent the letter because I wasn't sure I was correct personally. but I've had extensive meetings with the Yawks, and we've discussed various things, and several things that they're doing is going to help us out and improve actually our view of San Francisco. And so I'm very much in favor of what they've proposed, and I'd like to recommend that you vote on their proposal.
Thank you. Anyone else? Nancy, anyone on Zoom?
No one on Zoom. No one on Zoom.
With that, I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Hart, you want to lead off?
I'd be happy to lead it, because it really is seldom when you have a project where everything seems so positive, in line, properly done, beautiful rendition, everything. I don't feel really I need to spend time saying what I think is good or not, that I can absolutely make all the findings, and very happy that Fred has some nice neighbors. So that's my, yes, I can approve this application.
Commissioner Burke?
No worries. I can make the finding as well with the conditions we discussed, which is really just to clarify some of the specifications.
Thank you. Commissioner Lasky?
I can make the findings also. I think really lowering that roof makes the whole building more graceful, and and softens it. It's a really creative solution to adapt to this building. And I love the reading nook up roof. It also allows the neighbors, as you mentioned, light and more view. So I can also make all the findings.
Thank you. Vice Chair Johnson?
Yeah, thank you. I'm in total agreement. The home currently does not make the best use of the views and the being on the water. And so this change to the roof line and adding that deck is really smart. And I'm very supportive. I know you mentioned the lighting discussion and that the lights will not touch the water. I would just say that it's not just about the lights hitting the water. I think it's the overall effect of lighting the house up. So I would look at those lights again and I would scale them back. And I think where you've got lights up high on the side of the house, like up on the deck or outside, try to move them down so they're not, lighting the house up. But otherwise, I think great, and I can make all the findings.
Okay, and I visited the site. Appreciate this, especially the 3D, which I think we're going to start asking for. And I just had one suggestion. I'm not going to condition it because there may be something the reason why it's that way. But when I look at A204, you have the door on the left side, and your door on the right side going down the pathway, and they're different. I think it would be better if they were like the same height, whichever height. I think it would look better if they were asymmetrical. So, and the only other comment I had is that with the 48-inch concrete trash wall, I would like to see maybe a couple taller plants there to cover that concrete a little bit. So that's all. And agree with the lighting. That's all lighting and landscaping. But other than that, lovely project. Nice update to the home. You should have a nice home. And with that, I can ask for a motion.
I move to adopt the resolution granting design review for residential remodel and an 80 square foot kayak dock at 95 West Shore Road, with addition of keeping the planter at the same size and also the additional
What would be the 18.66 deck length on the upper deck? Reduction to 42% demo,
Mhm.
and then final landscape and lighting. I think that's it, right?
Okay.
Yes.
Mhm.
Second.
May I have a motion or no? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to recommend to the city council approval of a revocable license for private improvements located on city land adjacent to Belvedere at 95 West Shore Road.
And condition on the exhibit having every, thank you.
Second.
May I have, all in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
And with that, can I have a motion to? Meeting?
I move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.